Nigeria's Senate has once again revisited the Electoral Act, this time re-amending it to allow for the electronic transmission of election results. The decision marks a shift from last week's rejection of mandatory electronic transmission, but it comes with some or a condition. In the event of internet failure, the traditional form, that's EC8A, will remain the primary tool for collation. Lawmakers say the move reflects the aspiration of Nigerians, yet the compromise has sparked debate. Critics argue that without mandatory electronic transmission, transparency may still be undermined. Supporters counter that the caveat is necessary to avoid legal disputes in areas where network coverage is unreliable. Now, at the heart of this controversy lies a broader question. How can Nigeria balance technological innovation with the realities of its infrastructure while ensuring credibility in elections? Tonight, we'll unpack the Senate's decision, examine the implication for electoral integrity, and consider what this amendment means for public trust in the democratic process. Well, joining me at this time to discuss this is Cynthia Mbamalu. She's the Director of Programs, Yiaga Africa. She joins virtually from Abuja. I also have James Ezema, is a media coordinator, Movement for Credible Elections. He joins from our live from our studio there in Abuja. And also Asim Adams is a constitutional lawyer. He joins virtually from Port Harcourt. Gentlemen, thank you. Gentlemen and lady, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
Good evening. All right, let me start with the lady in the house. Cynthia, it's great to have you. Quickly, we saw Nigerians come out to protest yesterday on this issue. And fast forward to today, the House has, well, I called it, rescinded. They've listened, and it appears like the demands have been met. Would you consider this some sort of victory?
Well, I would say first, we welcome the fact that the Senate did rescind this decision and reviewed the version or the provision on transmission that was passed. And I think first is to say we welcome that development. It means they were listening, but also to commend Nigerians and civil society partners and the media for putting attention on this issue and making the demands or taking their demands home. I think that's what makes democracy beautiful, that democracy is a constant conversation between the people and institutions of government to ensure that the will of the people is what is given premium or given priority. And so that's the first part. However, I wouldn't say this is a total victory or something to celebrate totally because of the nature or the character of the provision on electronic transmission of result that the Senate just passed today. And like you mentioned in your news round, what we have is, yes, the Senate's version has adopted electronic transmission of results. However, it provides or it includes a proviso, which in our opinion, in our experience, will become problematic. If you know the character of our politicians in Nigeria, whenever there's an exception to the general rule, when there's a proviso, the proviso begins to act like the general rule. If I take a simple example on the constitutional provision on the campaign, as long as there was a proviso, politicians took advantage of that, and we've seen the cross-carpeting happening without any regard to the constitutional provision. And so for us, this is problematic because what does it do? Three things. It undermines the effect of this provision on electronic transmission of results. It undermines the not just the effect, but the power of the provision to ensure mandatory transmission of results at polling unit level. Because what the proviso says is basically provided that there is no failure, and if there is a failure, then the Form EC8A is the primary, will be given premium. And so what it basically does is once you put a proviso, there is no definition on what failure means, or there's no inclusion on what levels of verification would need to happen. So it means that you've just left the procedure to the discretion of polling officials at polling unit level. And for us, discretion is problematic when it comes to elections administration. Right. The second point is it affects the quality when it comes to the integrity of the process, because what you're going to see is you're going to have different rules applied in different locations, which basically affects how you ensure the uniformity of practice when it comes to elections administration. So this is not something to celebrate. We think this is really problematic, and it undermines the whole advocacy that we've had in this couple of days demanding for mandatory e-transmission of results.
In real time. All right, thank you so much. I would also direct the same question to James Ezema. He's a media coordinator, Movement for Credible Elections. Do you see this pushing the needle in terms of Nigeria attaining and achieving, credibility in terms of its elections ahead of 2027? With what we've seen the House, ascend to, do you see a situation whereby we might just be seeing some sort of improvement, or do you also have reservations as regards what has been passed?
I think what the Senate actually did was going from the back door and, retaining the discretionary, the discretionary clause that was in the amended, now to be said to have been amended, the Electoral Act 2022. You see, when you now say that the caveat is that if there is a failure, and what is the failure that is described as and so described as to be a failure of network? You see, if we go back to 2022, when this issue of transmission, electronic transmission of result became a serious debate, INEC made it clear during their presentation at the then Senate that look, that what they would do is that that same IRF that is being used for the voter verification and accreditation will be used, as just to take the picture of that Form EC8A that had been pasted at the polling unit, and then it will be transmitted immediately after they leave the polling unit if there was no network. And then if INEC, the National Assembly or the Senate in this case, is having problem with real time, they could remove the real time and give us a mandatory electronic transmission of results, so that we don't have a proviso, so that we don't have an exception, so that we don't have an excuse that the politicians will use. Remember when we were having this incident form during accreditation? What at that time, BVAS was not the sole instrument or device for accreditation. What they would do at that time was that, in the event that BVAS failed, then you use the incident form as a means of, accrediting the voter. But what happened? You see that the form, the BVAS was failing virtually at every point, at every polling unit. And then until the amendment came that BVAS became the only means of accreditation. And immediately after that, you will see how the process had continued to go. When they are now assured that either you use fingerprint or face, they use the face or fingerprint to identify that at least one of them will go through. And then you will see that nobody is then using the incident form, and things were going smoothly. But now what they have done is to give us back that discretionary power that was in the Electoral Act 2022 and returned it into the amendment, and then want to tell us that they have given us electronic transmission of results. That is unacceptable.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go on our first break. When we return, we'll look at this from the angle of the law. And I'll be coming to you, Asim Adams. You are a constitutional lawyer, sir. Does this in any way block any legal loophole, or does it leave room, some sort of vacuum for politicians to take advantage of ahead of 2027 general polls? Stay with us, we'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. And of course, we're looking at, in lieu of 2027 general polls, the electoral amendment, of course, bill that the Senate did assent to in terms of the electronic transmission of results. I'll be coming right now to you, Barrister Asim Adams. You're a constitutional lawyer. With what we've seen the Senate do today, and with the caveat they gave, does this further solve, election disputes? Or are we looking at a situation whereby politicians will just take advantage of a certain loophole that has been created by this?
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, what the Senate did today, in my own opinion, is what I regard as a boju kind of politics. If you remember those days when kids are playing, there's one this boju. You understand? That is a kind of it. What they did today for me was a farce. It was not something they were just making mockery of the Nigerian people. Now, it would have been better if they did not even contemplate in Section 60 of the 1999 Constitution, so that they would have saved us all these controversies on the same old templates that we have been operating on. Now, why am I saying that? Is that if you go through what happened today, the Senate just wanted to pacify or to placate Nigerians by using some ingenious ways to recraft and, make tinkerings with Section 60, so that we believe that that goes on. Whereas they have created more problems. Now, Section 60 sub 5, that is the old Section 60 sub 5, which was the template for which the 2023 election was operated, was so clear. It left everything at the discretion of INEC. In this case, the only thing that the Nigerian Senate just removed is that, as prescribed by the Commission, giving to them an ample chance and opportunity for manipulations. That is, if IRF and the network, they are not working, then you go back to manual collation, manual dissemination, or transmission of results. Now, secondly, in a law, once a section of the law has a proviso, you know that it's bound to bring problems and manipulations. For instance, Section 109 of the 1999 Constitution, you saw how the proviso became a leeway for which legal practitioners, politicians, also have possession of that and create some manipulative, instance on the Constitution. The same thing that is here. The proviso governs, in fact, the proviso is the law in this case. That proviso that gives the ambulatory option, that was the presiding officer. So it is at the discretion of that presiding officer. What he says that there is no network in my polling unit, automatically, what the presiding officer will do is to revert to manual collation and manual transmission. So that particular amendment is giving the presiding officer the power of Alpha and Omega in every polling unit in Nigeria here. We have 177,000 polling units or thereabout in Nigeria. And from what we heard, and from the statistics we got, about 15,000, polling unit network coverage area is where the deficiency is in terms of network, electronic network etc., as the case may be. So this is going to be a big problem for us in 2027. And the courts are going to, going to interpret, this section, the proviso governing section 60.
All right.
To the extent.
Barrister Adams, you've said quite a lot of things, but I'll come back to you. I'm going back to you, Cynthia, and I would like us to look at this from an angle of maybe a solution, if it may. Permit me to go through some statistics when it comes to Nigeria's infrastructure, and I'm talking about internet service provision in the country. Now, according to reports, the broadband penetration, has reached about 50.58% as of November 2025, up from 45.61% in January 2025. I'll just go into specifics right now. Broadband penetration as of November 2025 is about 50.58%. Internet subscribers, 142 million as of October 2025. 4G coverage, 85% population coverage. Now, average 4G download speed, about 33 megabytes per second. That's as of December 2025. And then internet speed, 14.7 Mbps as of December also. Where I'm going is, we are not seeing a situation whereby, in terms of this infrastructure, our infrastructure as a nation is 100% perfect. There are still gaps here. Looking at what we have on ground and what the Senate or the House did pass today, would you also want to give some sort of justification as to the caveat they gave, should there be a downtime or shortfall of internet service, for instance? Or what do you suggest as a better solution?
I think we need to make this clear. Electronic transmission of results in real time is not new. We have been doing this in our electoral process since INEC introduced this before the 2023 general elections. Now, in 2018, there was a joint committee of INEC and NCC, that's the Communications Commission, and they had done an assessment of the polling units. Remember, you're looking at the polling units to assess the level of network coverage. And the data had shown, this was before INEC proceeded to deploy the IREV, the data had shown that about 93% of polling units had network coverage. They had also worked with all the service providers, which is why in INEC's deployments, different service providers are partnered with for different locations. So you don't have one service provider or one network being relied on across the country because of this assessment. This was 2018, and I promise you that the penetration is better now. Now, we've seen on elections day, for the National Assembly elections, the 2023 elections, by midnight, we already had about 90% of the polling units results on the portal, which was why Nigerians raised a major issue on what caused the delay for the presidential, considering these elections were conducted at the same time and at the same low polling unit. So I want to put this out there because I also believe that there's been an attempt to misrepresent the truth to Nigerians and to play politics around what we are already doing. That's one point. The second point is, because when we are looking at all of this, we're looking at the assessment that has been done at polling unit level. Polling units are created at different locations. It's different from broadband penetration in Nigeria. Please, let's be clear around this. We've seen this work. If you go to the INEX portal, the recent elections in Anambra, 99.8% of the results are up. So now to provide more clarity on this, the House has passed a version. Now we do align that the House version provides better clarity because this failure clause that has been introduced, like has been said already, it creates a situation of dangerous ambiguity. And we don't believe that ambiguity helps our process. And so the House version is clearer. It provides that at the polling unit level, the results will be transmitted by the polling unit officials. Now, we've also, as CSO's partners, we've also provided a review to that session a bit so that, IREV is not mentioned specifically as the only platform, but to clearly state something like IREV and any other technological device, so that if INEC in the future adopts a new platform, the law wouldn't need to be changed. So the House version is clearer, and there's been provisions on how to make it and how to strengthen that particular provision. That's another thing to take note of. The second conversation is, what is real-time upload? What happened? Let us remember that the BVAS consistently has been achieving at least 99% optimal functionality across polling units. Our data is clear on this, consistent in every election. Now, the BVAS is what is used to take a picture of the result sheet from EC8A and upload on the IREV. Expectantly, like has been mentioned, in 2023 elections, about 15,000 of the 176,000 polling units, 15,000 had network coverage issues. But what was required? You take a picture of these results from EC8A after you've completed all the results and packages have signed. You click send and upload. Now, it's expected that it may not upload immediately in this 15,000 polling units, but once you move to another location, it uploads. We see this happening. There is no village in Nigeria that has no POS machine vendors around. We can achieve this. Our problem is not that we cannot achieve this. The problem is that it is being politicized. And this failure clause undermines the essence of this particular provision. What do we want to achieve?
All right.
We want to achieve a system that is more transparent, a system that guarantees integrity, and ensures that votes are actually counting.
All right, thank you, Cynthia. I'm coming to you right now, Mr. James Ezema. In 30 seconds, what would you, if there are recommendations from you as regards this electoral season that the nation is about to enter and the process thereof, in 30 seconds, what would you advise?
Very simple. Adoption of the House of Reps version of the amendments. It's as simple as that. It's just that in Nigeria, we like to play politics about everything and anything. If not, there's no reason why anybody should be contending whether there will be a failure or not. Because like Cynthia said, this is not the very first time we are using this BVAS. We have used it in 2019. We have used it in 2023, and we are now afraid to use it in 2027 because some people have interest that they want to protect. That is not. When you are making laws, you don't make laws because of yourself. You make laws because of posterity. You make laws because of the future. You don't make laws because it will favor you. And that is the calamity that we are bringing upon ourselves as a people.
All right. Thank you very much. Also, Barrister, before we, of course, wrap this first half off, I would like you to also speak on the standpoint of the law. This issue of going to court after elections and the tribunals and all of that, do you think that this issue, even though there's technology, do you think it can be permanently nipped in the bud? You will respond to this once we return from this break. Stay with us, we'll be right back. You're still watching Politics HQ on News Central Television. And of course, before we went on the break, I said I would be asking you your, what I call it, legal advice on this matter, Barrister Asim Adams. How do you think the issue of going to tribunals, can be nipped in the bud such that once elections are conducted, people don't have to wait for the courts to determine the final winner?
Thank you very much. You see, we have advocated before now that we think that Section 285 of the 1999 Constitution should be equally amended. If you go to Section 285, that is where you find timelines for tribunals to hold the election, tribunal matters, etc., and its conclusion. 60 days, 90 days, as it may be. That particular section has to be amended to read that the time for tribunals to handle matters is that all matters matters concerning elections should have been concluded before swearing in. I think it was one of the recommendations also. I think Yiaga should help us. I think it was one of the proposals to the amendment. I don't know what happened to it. They didn't go for it. Where they were proposing that elections should take place in November. Since swearing is June, from November you have about 6 months or thereabouts to dispose of all election matters from the tribunal to the Supreme Court. Then once the Supreme Court give their verdict in the presidential election or whatever tribunal, then you saw in the president or the governor, whosoever it is. But I don't know what happened, why that has not been amended. Now, let me even give my own solution to this. Assuming we want to continue with section 60 sub 5 as it is, electronic transmission, presiding officer, don't worry, you do whatever. If you manipulate the process, what happens to the presiding officer? Go to section 60 sub 6. You will find that the punitive measure or the punishment for any manipulative presiding officer or INEC official is too light. How can you tell me that if for instance you are a presiding officer and you intentionally manipulate the process under section 60 sub 5, then if you are caught, you will be liable to pay 500,000 naira.
So Barrister Adams, you are saying that the penalty should be stiffer, not just paying of 500,000 naira for erring presiding officers, as provided by the law.
Yes, it should be demanded, because election offenses in Nigeria is a serious matter. It's just like robbery. So it should be classified as a strenuous offense. So that if anybody or court manipulating results as it pertains to the duties under section 60 of the Electoral Act, particularly section 60 sub 5, that the person should, be a stiffer penalty, 10 years imprisonment, not even an option of fine. But in this case, an option of fine of 500,000. Many of them will just pay and get away with it.
All right.
Or you go and do 6 months in prison and you get away with it.
All right,
So
Barrister Adams. I know there's a lot to unpack here, but this, of course, is the bit time will permit. I'd like to say a big thank you to every single one of you. Barrister Asim Adams is a constitutional lawyer joining virtually from Port Harcourt. James Ezema is the media coordinator, Movement for Credible Elections, and Cynthia Mbamalu is the director of programs, Yiaga Africa, joining virtually from Abuja. Gentlemen and lady, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right.